Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Authentic Podcast with Justin Doulard. And thank you for tuning in to another episode. It's time!
We are here with Mr. Emeka. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Justin, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here with you.
Of course, man. Thank you for inviting me to your home here and finally got to connect. I know we've been talking for a bit. You're a busy guy, so.
Yes, I'm a busy guy that lacks organizational and discipline. So sometimes it's very hard to just catch me because I'm all over the place.
No, it's good. What do you got going on this afternoon? I know you're taking off after this.
So right after this, the gym that I work out at called the Center for Individuals with Physical Challenges, they are hosting a fundraiser today called Shoot for the Center. So we're going to bring in some community partners that will play a game of horse in efforts to raise money for the center. So as soon as we get wrapped up, I'm going to run over there, show face, cheer, heckle, do everything I can to get the crowd engaged. After that, I am going to get my car washed because I am going to the Equality Gala tonight over at the Cox Business Center. And if I'm going to pull up, my car has got to, my van got to be clean. So I got to stop by the car wash, get it washed out, get my wheels shining, and then go by there. And then that'll round out the rest of my evening.
What's the gala for?
So every year, the Equality Center that supports LGBTQ youth, they put on a gala every year that is a fundraiser for them. And so I was invited to come out. So we'll go there. The girl I'm dating, we're going to go there and dress up, show some more face, and eat food and dance and drink and have a merry time. So I'm looking forward to it.
Are you doing a lot of speaking these days at these events? Probably not this one, but are you speaking at events like this now?
So I've got a couple of events that I'll be speaking at over the summer, some conferences that I'll be speaking at. These events, these Tulsa ones, it's been a while since I did some Tulsa ones. I've done a lot of Zoom stuff since the world shifted to a more online world. I do a lot of online conferences, but I am looking forward to getting back to in-person stuff this year. So I've got some stuff coming up this summer that I'm excited for.
Yeah, I like your in-home setup. I'm a little jealous.
So we are currently sitting inside of my home office that I am blessed to have because this room was storage for the longest time. But here I have a setup where I've got my computer, some Sony camera that I double as a webcam and got a soft light. So when I do my speaking engagements from here, I wanted it to look like something, if I'm not going to be there in person, I wanted it to have a same kind of an energy. Anytime you're around me, I want there to be like, there's an energy about this person that I'm with. And so even if I show you, it's like I got the logo in the back, I've got lights that come on, and so it's a whole show. Because one thing that I said at the last conference that I spoke at, I said, I think when the people started filling in, people were making comments about how good the setup looked. And I said, yes, it's so that if there's nothing that I say that you remember, you will at least remember that it looked good. So it's all a ploy. It's all a ploy to get. It's like a smoke screen. Make you see good, and then hopefully what you see make you hear good. So
no, it's a nice setup, man. It's interesting too. Whenever, like I said, the world shifted to more of an online presence. Like, for example, I know people that work for. Well, I don't know them, but that work for ESPN or like when the NFL draft was happening, all the coaches were at home. A lot of the analysts, like Adam Schefter, was showing his home setup and they were shipping out these lights to them, these cameras, combing out.
I remember that, yeah.
a lot of them were coming out and setting it up for them, but for not being in a studio or on site, it was really clean.
Yeah, did you ever see the Manning setup for when they did the Manning cast for
Monday night?
Yeah. Like, so their setup was really clean too. And like, you could see that was a professionally well done. They coordinated so that they're able to watch the games, comment on the games, all of it still happening in real time, bring in guests. Like, it was, that was one heck of a setup. And that was pretty cool. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of that moving forward.
Oh, yeah. And I know that ESPN is not hurting for money, but I'm sure that saves them quite a bit in travel and flights, because those guys probably travel first class or private, probably staying in the nicest hotels. So them doing it from their couch,
Very true.
You invest one-time setup and they don't really travel. So,
and honestly, let's be real. A lot of us, that COVID has been what it was. This is not to minimize the lives that were lost and the inconveniences that we all experienced, but along with that, there was, I'm sure a lot of us would agree, that there was a lot of convenience that we all found through that as well. Not having to go to, like meetings that could be done from the comfort of your home. For me, being able to do a speaking engagement, while I miss out on traveling, but being able to do something from the comfort of my home was, that was a welcome convenience. So I think go ahead.
No, I think that's said perfectly. A lot of things need to be in person or can be, and they're better, but there's some things that are just as good remotely.
Yeah.
Or save time and money. And like if you've got something going on or you're feeling tired that day or kind of have a headache, getting on a stage maybe and dressing up, full suit, or getting on a plane, may not be enticing, but if you're like, I can pull up to my computer and look good for an hour and a half and then go right back to my bed.
I'm guilty of being in like two places at one time, where I've had a Zoom call pulled up on my computer and another Zoom call pulled up on my phone, and I'm simultaneously having both of them, and I'm like going between muting back and forth. That like just randomly of having like a work meeting, like different work meetings scheduled at the same time. And it's like, well, I can make this happen. And yeah, it's interesting. It's been an interesting time.
Have you seen those videos? I think they're just kind of satire, but those guys on Instagram where they got the green screen behind their, like, taped to their chest, and it's behind them, and then they're at a game during like a college class,
watching the game while sitting inside of a room. Now, again, this day and age, we can be in two places at one time now.
Yeah, and then it looks like you're down on Brookside too at the same time, right? Having fun.
But yeah, man, this is even having this it's its own blessing, because I did not used to have my own like space, I guess. Do you know anything about like my whole house journey?
A little. You could definitely tell more.
So, prior to, I guess I would say prior to 2020, I mean,
you had a pretty bad string of luck, right?
I had 2018, I had a very bad string of luck where started with a car accident that totaled out my van, totaled out my vehicle that I use. And then my dad, fell and broke his ankle. And then it all culminated with an apartment fire that left me homeless and without a lot of things. Just fires are just terrible. But that string of bad luck followed by a string of good luck. People in the city wrote into the Ellen show, and I was able to get surprised on the Ellen DeGeneres show, where she awarded me with $100,000 to kind of almost reset my life. And I used that $100,000 to put into the vehicle that I would drive, because for me at that time, having mobility and having ability to move and be able to go to work was vastly more important than just oh, let me get a house. Because I remember when I got back, a lot of people were like, oh, you should, buy a house or something like that. And these vehicles are just so expensive because of everything they have to do to get it handicap accessible, from lowering the floor, putting in a ramp, the driving controls. So all that to say, I made a choice that, driving was going to be more important for me. But within that same time span, Habitat for Humanity reached out to me, and they approached me with an opportunity to build an accessible home. For listeners who do not know, I am a C5, C6 quadriplegic, and so I use a motorized wheelchair, a big, hefty thing. And so my living experience up until this point has not been one of particular comfort, just because every place I've lived has not been really built for me.
And that's this house that they rebuilt out?
Yes. So this house that we are in currently was an empty lot, and they came up with plans.
Oh, this is new.
This is all brand new.
Oh, wow.
And so this was 2018, in which they first approached me with the plan. We decided, yes, it's a go. In 2019, they began building, and by the end of 2019, December 2019, there was a new house built that was for me. When you came in, one of the first things you said was like, nice house, pretty wide, spacious. All of that is on purpose, so the hallway is wide to accommodate for my chair. Doorways are wide to accommodate for my chair. The sinks, I can roll under the sink. I can roll under the tables. There's a lift track in my bedroom that, I can use to get in and out of my chair. And it was just a blessing. I mean, to be frank, it was a sheer blessing, because for the first time since my initial accident, since like living as a person with a disability, I have a space that is catered toward me, and it was comfortable. And so us being able to be in this particular room, like this third room, was always going to be like a man cave office. Being able to get it set up to where I could do things like this, and I can do my own, speaking and recording. Again, just a true blessing.
No, it's a beautiful home, and I could absolutely tell when I got here, everything is wider and spaced out. I'm glad that they did that for you, and like you said, the string of bad luck turned into a little bit of good luck and some blessings.
Oh yeah, I think that one of my biggest lessons from that was just recognizing that our lives kind of operate on a particular pendulum where things kind of swing between good and bad, ups and downs. It's just it kind of just how it goes. And so even you ever seen a rising stock?
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at a stock, any type of stock that's like skyrocketing or going up, it's never just straight up, right? It's like up, stops, goes down a little bit, goes up a little bit more, goes down maybe 2 points, goes up 5, down again, up again. And so it is with our lives, where, we're growing. We're on this constant journey, and, some things look good, and then it's like the stock is rising. String of bad luck. Stock seems like it's falling. It can easily seem like a stock in your life is plummeting, depending on what you're going through. And then if you really take time to, use perspective and zoom out, sometimes it's good for us to see that when we're in a point where we feel low, and because we experience things right there in the moment, it's very easy to experience a low and feel like this low that I'm currently in is lower than any low than I've ever had. But if you zoom out, it's like, this low that you're currently in is still higher than your previous lows. This low that you're in probably is still higher than some of the other highs that you've had. And so when I had all that stuff going on for me, literally, I'm a perspective guy. I take time to look at what I'm feeling, within the context of how life is unfolding. And, if I go back to 2009 when I had my initial injury, that was probably one of the worst lows ever. I went from being a athlete in the best shape of my life to being a person with a disability, using a wheelchair, quadriplegia, poverty line, like just low, bottom, lower than a pregnant ant's belly type low. And, trying to build on my life where, working in the community, I went back to school, and then I have this string of bad luck. And so where it felt very, that time felt very bad, it was just like, okay, like if I hold on long enough, maybe that pendulum swings back to good. And surely enough, it did. And then after the Ellen Show appearances, then coming back and having the Habitat, reach out, now mine is almost like this, the floor for my lows is like higher. Like even today, something happens to me that that I feel bad about or I feel low about, like when I look around, when I wake up in the morning and I recognize I'm in my own house, I have my own car, like there's no low that's going to match the low of me not having, my house and not having a car, and that initial moment of having, breaking my neck on that football field. Like I'm never going back to that type of low. So my floor has elevated. And so I don't know. I keep thinking, for me, I always keep perspective on those things. That's what really gets me through, different storms.
Yeah, you've been tried and tested. You survived a pretty rough year and a half, 2 years. So if you can handle that, you can handle anything.
Man, I think that our past successes can indicate like future success as well. I think that we should, as individuals, be able to, build on the adversities that we've all kind of overcome. I've said this before, where I think overcoming adversity is like math. I look at someone like Albert Einstein. Like we all know Albert Einstein to be a genius, right? But at some point in his life, Albert Einstein did not know what 2 + 2 was, right? At some point, maybe it was briefly when he came out the womb, but at some point, Albert Einstein didn't even know what 2 + 2 was, but he had to learn it. And then he built off of knowing 2 + 2 to the quadratic equation, or, some other stuff that led to the quadratic equation that got us to E = mc². And now you've been able to solve these problems.
Well, that's kind of like we talked about having Danny on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Like S.C. Hinton, who wrote The Outsiders.
Yeah.
She apparently was failing like fifth grade English or sixth grade English, seventh grade, one of those, when she was writing The Outsiders.
Really?
Yeah. If you go back and listen to that, she has said it, and Danny said that she was failing her writing class, and shortly after wrote The Outsiders. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, even if someone else is telling you you're not doing well, or you think you're not, that just shows that you can. One of the biggest books in American history.
And think about the time in which that came out of. that came out of a time of struggle for her. And honestly, think about, we think about most successes and most people that have achieved greatness and achieved great things. A lot of greatness comes out of pain. Like, I think a lot of people fail to recognize that, when we get squeezed is when we are able, most people are able to put that pain and recycle that pain into something great. I know that they talk about like Adele and Taylor Swift as like people that have always like taken breakups and then like use that to put into their music and stuff
to make millions.
And they are doing so. And people connect to it because, again, we more so connect to pain more than anything as human beings because we all feel it.
Yeah, and everybody's been dumped, right?
Mm-hmm. Look, everybody's been dumped. Everybody's felt that anxiety of, whether or not someone loves them or their own personal stuff. And so when people are able to, share that in a way, people latch onto that.
I have to ask, what was it like going on Ellen? Because I know I watched. You've been on twice, right? You went twice? Mm-hmm. Okay, I watched them both, and then the first time they said that you didn't know you were actually going to be on the show. Is that true or false? Or can you say?
Oh, I can say.
You didn't sign any NDAs or anything?
No NDAs. I can tell you that they have been very different experiences.
But the first and the second time?
First and second time. When I went the first time, that was, again, direct aftermath of all of this stuff going wrong in my life.
When they they surprised you. So what did they tell you was happening?
So the way it worked was, that after I had gotten like all of this stuff happening for me, people were writing in letters to her show. Like from Tulsa. I knew that at least two of my friends had written in to the show. So randomly I get a message from a girl that I went to elementary school with.
Not in Oklahoma.
I have not talked to this girl. We have not seen each other in 20 years.
Okay.
I mean, it's been so long. But I get a message from her on Facebook, and it's like, hey, like, crazy story, what's your number? And I don't see the rest. I just see that come up across my phone, and I kind of go back to working out because I was thinking that it was spam because, again, there's someone I ain't seen in forever. And ended up opening up my phone. She says Ellen Show reached out to her to ask her questions about me. Gives me a number to call back. Say that again?
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why her?
So she had written a letter too.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize the number of people that had written to the show until they said it on the show.
Gotcha.
And so I call her, she tells me, hey, some people reached out. They called me, and I call them back and end up talking to a producer who's asked me questions about, hey, some people, someone has written into the show about you.
This a phone call or an email?
Phone call.
Okay.
And it's like, hey, we just want to follow up with you and, tell us a little bit about yourself. And so, at this point, I'm like super excited because I'm like, oh, is this real? And so it's like, okay, well, I'm Emeka. I work in the community. I've had some series of unfortunate events. Do this, and they're like, okay, let's talk again later. We talk again later that week, and they are very interested in what I do at the shelter. And so at the time, I volunteered. I used to volunteer at this youth shelter here, and I was there I wore a lot of hats there. And so they were saying to me how they wanted to do like this segment where they renovate a space. Now, the funniest thing is that, here I am on the phone and they're asking me, hey, can you tell us of any other places that you volunteer at that could use some renovating? And, just give us that information. Mind you, at this very moment, I'm homeless. Like, I'm living at a friend's house because the apartment is done. They don't have an apartment to put me in yet. So I'm like thinking to myself, like, yeah,
raise your hand.
My place could use some renovating. But it's like, yeah, the kids. I guess the kids could use some love. I work with these kids, so I'm sending them pictures of all this stuff. Me not knowing at the time, like,
they knew your situation.
This is all smokescreen type, because what I did not know, again, the number of people that written in, they're calling all of these people.
So they're doing many reference
they're
checks.
They're doing a lot. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not just like, oh, we see Joe Schmo and we just bring. So they're doing a lot of checking. And as we are talking, it was weird because I had maybe 3 or 4 conversations, and then it was just kind of like, all right, I didn't hear anything. And then again, the first thing they said is, we want to do a segment for Ellen Tube. Like, that was what they told me. They want to do a segment for Ellen Tube in which they kind of track what I'm doing, and then they would, do like some follow-up video on that, which was what I have no reason not to believe them. So then I get a call couple weeks later. I get a call. At this time I'm literally riding in my chair from work to the gym, and it's a producer just like, hey, we want to do this video still. So what we want to do is we want to get you out here to do like an interview recording style in our studio. And then when you go back, we'll send a crew back with you, and then we'll record some of the stuff that you're doing in the city. And then we'll put together a segment thing. Cool. I've done that here. That didn't seem out the ordinary. Can you come out on Tuesday? Mind you, this is a Thursday. So I'm like
4 days later?
Yeah. So I'm like, wait, what if I can't?
What if I say no?
Like, what if I can't find anyone to go? And they're like, yeah, we want you to make it happen. So literally 4 days later, I'm on a plane. Flying Tuesday night. They get me set up in a nice hotel. And me and so the crazy finesse about this is that I had a friend that was living in LA at the time. And I had a friend that was in Orlando at the time, and I have a friend here. So I'm leaving here with a friend of mine to go there. The guy that lives in Orlando used to be roommates with the guy that is in LA. So when I tell him that I'm going out there, he books a flight that day. He's like, oh, I'm coming to hang out. Like, it was just like, oh, all right, we're going to get the boys all together in LA. Why not?
Yeah, boys
So
trip.
4 of us are now in our hotel room, and the day of the Ellen thing, they are gonna bring me to the studio so I can record this thing and then go back. So I'm like, hey, so I kind of got like 2-3 more friends with me. Can they come? They're like, give us a second, and then they like, all right, just make sure everyone brings their IDs so we get my friends to come in there.
Were they just gonna pop up in the crowd, or
no? They were just hanging out with me. Like, we had no idea what was to come. Like, we had no plan. Like, I've never been to Burbank. I've never been to the studio. I've never been on set of any type of show, so I don't know what any protocol is. So we come in, and they get us into a room, and they tell us like, okay, hey, you're in a room. Don't leave nowhere. So I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, we're not going nowhere.
Don't be taking no pictures.
Yeah. So, but that's one thing. You're not allowed to really take your phone out of the room either. So we're back there hanging out, and it seemed like, we're just kind of hanging out for hours because they didn't even tell us when the show aired. They told us the show didn't air until later, later said we were going to use the studio, record like an interview thing, and then switch up. So we're in the room, kind of just guy talk, talking. The one conversation I remember is we're having a conversation about LeBron, Kobe, or Jordan. Like, and we're arguing as friends do, using language as we do, and then we're just kind of in our heads like, wait a minute, y'all seen the Ellen Show, right? What if they're watching us right now?
Oh yeah,
they
probably were.
We're using all types of language. We're like, hey, chill out. Like let's be cool. Anyway, fast forward, they come in and they put a mic on me because they're like, all right, we're gonna go and do this recording. And how they separated us, and this is the thing, is that the people that knew that I had flown out to go do this thing, some people were like, hey man, like, so what are you gonna do if you end up on the show? And I'm like, hey, if I end up, then I'll I guess I end up on the show. Up until this point, I thought, okay, maybe I get on the show, maybe I don't, maybe I do. When the way the day started to unfold, it was just like, oh, I'm not getting on the show. Like, we're definitely just here to record. And surely enough, they split me and my friends because they pulled one on us. They were just like, hey, you know what? Like, they come in, there's some people that came in. It's like, hey, you know what? We're literally about to go record this interview part. They're like, you know what? Instead of just recording him, let's get some video of what the friends have to say about Emeka, so we can like do some, get some good B-roll footage and things like that. And one of my friends, he's not a camera guy. He's like, I'm not really dressed for that. I'm not really good on camera. And they were just like, hey, like, at least you can tell us like how you met Mecca and what his friendship means to you. Okay. So everyone gets up and they're like, you know what? This is what we'll do. How about we go record them? And while we record them, we'll give you a tour. And then when we get done recording them, we'll give them a tour, and then we'll record you. All right, bet. So we're all like, okay, all of that seems plausible.
Sure.
Hey, everybody got to leave your phones here. Can't have your phones in the studio. So now it picks up where what you see in the first episode. You see, I'm on a tour, and then they end up surprising me, right? With my friends, when they leave the room, and they're walking down, like, up doing this tour thing or whatnot, or they're about to go what they think they're about to go record. They get down the hallway, and the person taking them is like, all right, everything we just told you guys is bullshit. Mecca's going on the show. You guys are going into the audience. Follow me. So they have no idea that anything is happening until that very moment. So they're just as surprised as I end up being. I leave, and they're like, all right, we're going to give you on this tour. And mind you, in 2018, the day that I was there, the day happened to be Halloween Day. It was October 31st that I was there recording this episode. So all this in my mind is like, hey, I've seen what y'all do to scare people. I'm like, hey,
don't do that to me.
Don't let no clowns pop up. So I'm looking left and right, and they're like, no, we're done. We're not doing Halloween stuff. But I get to that point where they are telling me about the right before the door opens up, the intern, her name's Summer, and I feel so duped by Summer because that entire time I'm thinking that, her and I are building rapport. I'm just listening to like, hey, where are you from? This and that. And she's just like, yeah, we're about to get you. Like she knows like this is all just set up.
A ploy.
So she says, this is where Ellen comes out. This is where the like artists and stuff come out. And I think in that moment, like if you ever watched a movie where you see something and you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. That split moment where she's like, this is where Ellen comes out. I think my brain is like catching on to wait a minute. This is where Ellen comes. Doors open up.
And then that's it.
That's it. Like I can feel, they say the lights of Hollywood. I can feel the heat from the lights on my forehead. I am now looking at 400 people in the audience.
And they're clapping.
Looking at me, clapping. I look left. I see Ellen. I see a ramp going up to her. Summer is like, all right, go up the ramp. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just driving up there.
And then you're on TV.
And I'm on TV.
Never been on TV.
Completely blacked out in that moment.
Did you really?
Yeah. Like I can tell you that.
For how long?
Was the segment?
No. How long, like what, say you were on there for 10 minutes, for example. How many minutes of that do you like remember? Is it just fuzzy?
Oh, it's all fun. See, the interesting thing is that because I have video, I can look at it and know.
Kind of relive it.
I know what was said from a external looking perspective, but I can't tap into that internal, like, this is what was happening in the moment, because once those lights were on, it's just like, all right. And the thing is, it was not my first time being on TV, my first time being on that kind of stage on TV, but I am with all the work that I do in Tulsa, I've been on the news so many times. Sure. I do interviews. And so now I'm almost in automatic, like, okay, I'm talking. Don't know what I'm saying. Just hoping that I say something inspiring or something good.
You got no time to prep.
No
time to think.
Yeah, it's just on and popping. So then we go to commercial break. So it's in between. It's the commercial breaks that I remember, because that is when I get the personal time. Like, so the lights are off. I'm not worried about whether or not I'm messing up or not, because we're not on TV right now. We're just here. So I remember the first time during the commercial break, she interviews me, and she comes over and says something along the lines of, like, oh, you're like amazing, man, come back anytime. And I'm like, what? Like, don't tell me that. Yeah. I'm like, I'll be back. Shoot, look, have me back. I'd love to come back.
I'll come back quarterly.
Like, heck yeah. So then I do remember that when she awards me with the $100,000, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I can't, I'm trying to grasp the moment, and it's like, it's just huge. So my friends come down, we're all hugging, and we are on our way to the back, and I am now like just thinking, what just happened? Like, I think I said it out loud like 15 times. What just happened? What just happened? What just happened? Heart is beating fast. Stomach is kind of still in the anxiety mode. We're in the back green room, and a different producer wants to meet me, and we go to meet, and I'm trying to take deep breaths, because I'm just like, just be yourself. Just be yourself. Because it's like, there's a lot of adrenaline going. So take a deep breath, and meet him, talk. He comes back and he tells me that the audience won tickets to 12 days of giveaways. So then they tell me that because the audience won tickets to 12 days of giveaways, because my friends happen to be in the audience, because I was on the show, we get tickets to 12 days of giveaways. So we get to come back in
Christmas?
Yeah, in Christmas. So we come back a month later for the second time, which in its own regard was like a crazy win, right? Like, of all the episodes, this one gets tickets. They're going to fly us back out.
Yeah, like two months later.
2 months later, get to do the same thing over and over again. And this on this particular episode is when they awarded me with $20,000 for the youth services at Tulsa. But this time it was different because we came back. Same thing where got the green room, but this time we were in the audience. So I was literally just in the audience, watched the show from there. So got to watch Ellen come out her way, to watch the setup, watch the whole episode as it played out. And they tell me like, hey, Ellen may want to get like an update on you, so she may come down to the audience and talk to you. She may call you up from the audience. She may talk to you from the stage. Just
be ready.
Be ready. So we get through the whole show, and it's like the last segment of the show where I see them setting up the ramp. So now it's like I know, like, oh, it's about to be me. So they're telling me like, hey, still no prep time. Like, oh, you're about to go on. So and people don't know this because you might when you click the link and you see it, it just like starts. Hey, I'm back with my friend Emeka. You may have recognized him from, we had him here a month ago or whatnot. But you don't know that I'm just sitting in the audience trying to enjoy this time, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you about to go up there.
Yeah, I didn't know. I watched the second one, and I just saw you on the stage.
So go up. She starts asking me questions. We do that, and then the show ends after she gives youth services $20,000, and I'm on stage like, so what do I do now? And that's when she kind of talks to her audience. She gives me the mic to.
This is off air.
Off air, and it's like, hey, so what is there anything you want to share with the audience? And I kind of give this like a little motivational piece, and Ellen is playing with my hair, and I'm like, what is happening right now? And then I go back into the green room, and it's just, again, it's a whole thing where it's just like, wow, like this is crazy. It's my life it's crazy. So I come back to Tulsa after that, and I am no longer Tulsa famous, like just Tulsa famous, because I'm known in Tulsa because of how much stuff I've been a part of, but Ellen famous and Tulsa famous are very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that changed. When I come back, everybody's like, "Oh, were you on Ellen? This and that." So that changed everything.
So it really is that hot under those lamps,
bruh. When I tell you, I will never hear the term the bright lights of Hollywood and think about them the same way. It is that like warm. You feel that energy, and it is an absolute buzz. It's an absolute buzz with the energy that you feel just being in that kind of situation.
In the middle of the commercial break, are they like wiping sweat off you and like kind of dusting you up?
No. So during the commercial breaks, you're chilling. Everyone kind of gets up, gets a stretch. The audience is kind of doing their thing. Ellen usually comes over and says something, and just whoever is around, like different producers might come up and say what's up. It is something. Question: when will this air?
Probably. What is today? Saturday. I could get it up tonight or tomorrow night. One of those two.
So
this is much easier. So.
Yeah, I would. I'll tell you another.
Do you need it at a certain time, or are you just curious?
Both. So.
Do I need to delay it? Maybe.
If you delay it, then I'll tell you another story.
Okay. How long?
How long to delay it?
Yeah.
May 11th.
I can wait if the story's good. If you want to put it on there.
All right.
Let's do it. So I can do it May 11th.
Anytime after May 10th.
Okay. I'm going on another trip. I'll be back the 12th or the 13th. So I'll probably just edit it this weekend, and I won't share it until that week.
Okay.
Let's do it. You got some tea?
I got some tea.
All right.
So, as we were talking about the different appearances that I've made on that show, it isn't once and it isn't twice. There is a third appearance that I've made on the show.
Oh man.
Am
I the first to know?
You're the
first stranger to know, maybe?
You're the first stranger to know. You're the first, especially, this is the first recording, this is the first anything that I've done that is going to show, that I'm telling about this.
That's dope.
I figured you're owed it for as much time that we've missed trying to catch up. So this will work.
Well, you got my word.
Fine. So this is the Ellen Show's farewell season.
Yep.
And so my first appearance there was in 2018, or those first two appearances were in 2018. Obviously, a lot has happened since then. Again, with the world shutting down and the world there was a lot of, Ellen took a lot of heat over 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, I remember. I was going to ask you about that too, but anyways.
Yeah, heck, I'll start there. There's a lot of heat there because a lot of stuff with the workplace.
Supposedly one of her employees said that she was really rude to people and condescending, and is that right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Well, yeah. So if you look over the history, a lot of people will throw stones, right? And when you're someone that is the kind person, you're known for being kind. What stones are people going to throw at you? Like that you're unkind.
Sure.
If you're the honest person, if you're known for being honest, people are going to throw stones like, no, you're not. They're not always honest. They lied. This person lied to me. So I think that her being in that position that she's in is going to already come with its own targets. I can tell you that my experience has been that the people that I have encountered there are all genuinely kind people. Like that and I mean that from the bottom up. Now, individuals are flawed, you have people that do messed up things, and it's when you have a institution that big, there's, even though people expect okay, the show is called The Ellen Show, so they expect her to know everything about everything that's happening there.
It's a big empire.
It's a big empire. There's so many other things that are moving under you to So they had their thing with they had their issues with the workplace thing, and some people got fired, but I can tell you that, again, people that I have met and stayed in contact with, beautiful people that are people that I would consider friends for ever, So I say all that to say, in 2018 is when I first got there. I've kept in contact with the people there for the longest time. They are always checking in. We'd always, check in with each other during COVID was a thing, because it was you want to check in on all your friends. Hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, people got lonely and kind of stir crazy. And
so I remember them, reaching out, and then we talked about, how was everything going? Things are good. I got my van. I think when I went back the second time, I had told Ellen that I just bought a new van and that I was naming it after her. And so we got to so fast forward to the beginning of this year, and them talking about it being her last season. I didn't, I didn't even think anything of it, but I got in a call about like, hey, want you to say bye. And so people don't understand just how fast these things move. So again, very similar to last time, I get a call on a Friday this time, and it's like, hey, hope you don't have any plans next week because we'd love to bring you out to, say goodbye.
This is the producer saying Ellen wants to say bye because she's closing the show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I'm like, yeah, literally.
Yeah, you got to make it work, right?
Oh, literally, bro. So I work as a therapist in an alternative school. So I am sitting across from a kid, and my phone just happens to be out, and I see it ringing, and I'm like, I know that number. And
I got to take this one.
And I'm like, I got to take it, but I can't because this kid's in the middle of telling me some stuff. So I'm like, all right, I won't answer right now. But it was this kid that I'm talking to, and then I call back, and they're just like, hey, want to get you out. It's pretty happy. Things happening pretty fast. I'm like, all right. So what are we talking about? We're gonna get you a flight for Tuesday, and so from Friday to Tuesday, I was like, all right, let me get ready. And so I
out to Cali.
Went out there again, and was on the show again. The show airs May 10th, and so by the time this is being released, this will be after May 10th. I don't know if I will reveal everything that went down, but I will say that this was its own unique experience as well.
When was this?
This was
because you say Friday, Monday, but when did you go?
Like a few weeks ago.
Oh, just recently.
Recently.
Because what is today? Almost May, April 30th.
Yeah.
So you went early April.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I didn't realize. I didn't realize it was going to be a delayed thing because they're recording their episodes and then they're going to release them as it goes. They're working a lot.
So they film it live, but it's not live, correct?
So typically in the regular season, it is like, and I don't know if these are trade secrets or anything like that. But I mean, it's like for the last two experiences that I went, I recorded the show on Tuesday or on Wednesday and it aired Thursday.
See, that's what I thought is that, it's a live audience. It's live, but then they record it and then play it later.
Right. For these last couple of episodes, I think they went into like, all right, we're going to record multiple episodes so we can get this done. Because they were, so just recently, this week, they just recorded their last episode.
Oh, so they're done.
They're done. The show doesn't stop airing until like the end of May. So
they played some out.
Mm-hmm. And like I was saying with those experiences, those first two experiences, different experiences. And this third one was different as well for me because, the first one I'm being surprised. Second one, similar surprise. But this one, not so much a surprise because it's like, we're bringing you out here to
close it out.
To say goodbye, right?
And you're a vet now, so.
Right. And so I show up and it's like everyone knows me. Everyone is like, hey, Emeka, how are you? And I'm like, yo, this is weird. Like, I am
a regular.
Right. Like, it's like going back, and this really felt like going back and seeing friends because the producers that I've worked with and had such a close relationship with over the last 3 years is like, yo, like, you care about these people.
Yeah.
They care about me.
Clearly, if they're texting you during COVID or calling you and asking you, how's it going?
And it's crazy, man. It's crazy that the craziest thing for me is that being in this kind of vicinity with these individuals and also having the same feeling of them being like regular people. Like, one of the things that I'll tell you is like, the commercial breaks have been probably some of my most intimate moments that I've had. And this time was one that I will keep with me for the longest time because, we recorded, and it's funny because, like I said earlier, like when the lights are on, I don't remember. Like, I can't tell you what I said in the interview. I can't remember it. It's just like it kind of just goes blackout for it now. But I do remember that when we went to commercial break, Ellen comes over. We're sitting there talking, and she's kind of talking about the last 2 years and how, like, it's been rough. And in this moment, I am face to face with this person who is uber, like, famous. Like, I mean, famous, right?
Yeah, she knows it. She knows everybody.
She's been with presidents. She's been with athletes. She's been with actors. She's been with everybody. And yet I am face to face with this person in an intimate, like, setting, even though it's 400 people still looking at us. They can't hear what we're talking about. And so she's talking about, like, you know, the last 2 years and how it's been like rough. And we're just kind of, I'm, you know, in this place where I'm encouraging her while she's encouraging me. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, Ellen, like, I didn't say this to her. What I did tell her is that, like, yo, you're light, and you can't, like, people can't extinguish light like that, you know? But also thinking to myself, like, yo, you are human. Like, you're just a human being that hurts the way we hurt. Like, people think that when you get to a certain level of fame that you somehow have a thick skin to be absolved of getting your feelings hurt. And no, we're just humans, you know, and you that was one of the big takeaways that I had. Also, that after 19 years, I mean, 19 years is a long time. She's having, you know, it was a bittersweet because it's like super excited to start the new chapter, but also mourning this last chapter. You know, like it's a bittersweet thing, and I felt that from her. And so I hope that as she enters into this next season, that, you know, people let her, you know, like, retire in peace. You know what I mean?
Don't heckle her.
So, yeah.
Unfortunately, nowadays with an even more online presence, I feel like people, they're just looking for things to heckle too. So no matter who it is or what she does, there's always going to be someone. And that's unfortunate when you have a lot of fame too, is because someone's always going to target you. And you do have to have thick skin. Even though you're human, you have to do that because those people are protected behind a computer a lot of times.
She has impacted so many people. You know what I mean? Like, I am one of thousands and thousands of people that have been impacted by her show. Same thing with, like, Oprah's show back in the day, you know?
Yeah. And she remembers you, right? Yeah. I mean, she's met you 3 times and she asked you personal questions, which is pretty crazy because, like you mentioned, what's her phone book look like? How many people does she know that is somebody, or how many people has she met 100 times and she's met you 3? And compared to, you know, little Tulsa, Oklahoma, still has her people check on you, still knows you, and you know, seems to still care about you too.
Again, I don't take that for granted. I think that is super. It's weird being in that position. Being in that position is just weird to think about, like, because all I can think is, like, I'm just me. I'm just Emeka. And I, like, think that Ellen is just Ellen, and just energies just link up, you know? I've had a surreal experience with that show. And with just just a surreal experience. She changed my life. She turned my life around. And it's not just her, actually. It's for me, it's more the community. I mean, because she wouldn't know me if 50 people didn't write in, you know?
I think you're doing good things and had a lot going on, and you have your own little platform, or, you know, it was smaller, and she saw the good in you and the people that liked you and appreciated you, and just, you know, multiplied it times 1,000 or 2,000. Yeah. Just gave you the opportunity to be seen by more people.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of her business, is good people who are doing good things. And then she just amplifies it times 1,000,000.
Yeah. So at this time when this is being released, I'm hoping that this is amplified by 1,000,000 to go into more places and to, just speak and spread good news and spread good vibes, man. That's all. I'm literally all about just trying to plant seeds that produce good fruit.
Yeah, we connected online, and I see we have mutual friends, but I don't know if you know those people or if they just follow you because you're, an inspiration, or if you've actually met them, because it seems like you met a ton of people. So.
I've met a ton of people, and I typically remember. It's weird. I've got a terrible memory, but also a pretty good one when it comes and I'll try myself where if I'm scrolling and I see a name that I don't know, I'm like, wait a minute, how do I know this person? They'd be like, oh, okay, this person I met through some conference, and I remember when they said they wanted to add me on Facebook, or I met this person through this person or this person. So I try to remember pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I know I can at least know him personally, Antoine. How'd you meet him?
Okay, so Twan.
Because you put a picture of you guys up a couple Sundays ago on Brookside.
So right now, Twan is part of my Sunday brunch crew, and so
that sounds just like him.
We get together regular. Me, him, my boy Steven, Nate, Michael occasionally join, and we usually hit up our bar right there on Brookside, and it'll be, especially during football season.
Oh yeah,
it's hey. Sunday fun day. We're gonna hit the brunch. We're gonna watch some games, and usually it starts off at all right, I'm here at 11 o'clock to get some pancakes, and then it's 6 o'clock already. And it's like, okay,
I gotta go to bed.
I gotta go get ready for work. But me and Twan go back to some other mutual friends. Some other mutual friends from 5 or 6 years ago. And actually, he used to live in the apartment complex that a friend of mine lived in. That's where we first met.
Okay.
And then we found out that we had mutual friends. Our friend Sarah that lives in South Carolina. Excuse me.
Sarah J?
Sarah Johnson?
Sarah Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's through Sarah Johnson.
Okay. So you're close to Sarah?
Yeah. So Sarah I actually went out to South Carolina. And I went to Charleston in 2020. It was the only trip I made in 2020 to go speak at a school that she had got setting up for me.
The school she works at?
Mm-hmm.
So I know Sarah from going to school at NSU, where she used to work.
Oh, yeah.
She used to work at Northeastern State in Tahlequah for, she was there, I thought 8 to 10 years. I can't remember, and I can never remember what she did at Northeastern, but she was an advisor. I think it was a student organization advisor when I was an undergrad. So that's how I know her.
Do you know Eller? Ryan Eller?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I know Ryan Eller.
I did some speaking for Paradigm Shift.
Uh-huh.
And then that's how I met. Oh, why am I blanking on his name? Oh, who was friends with Sarah as well. Gosh, I really hope he doesn't hear this.
Well, if you think of his name, it would be cool.
God, he looks like Owen Wilson.
Looks like Owen Wilson.
Oh.
You could look him up. Yeah, when Ryan wrote his book, Live Your List, talking about bucket lists, it's been a while, probably 5 or 6 years, maybe longer, but he was asking people online if what music he should listen to while he writes the book. And then I put 80s pop. And then anyone who gave him music he listened to, he put our name in the back. So it was kind of cool to say I was in a book. So
that is cool.
Yeah. Looks like Owen Wilson.
I know. And I'm mad that I said that because it'll be my luck that he's listening and just wait, Mecca, really? You couldn't remember?
Yeah. Hey, man, it happens. But yeah, Sarah's good people. She's really nice. She's real sweet. Knew her for 4 to 5 years.
I'm so mad at myself. Matt Eaton.
Okay, so I don't know him well, but I do know him. He went to, I think every one of those people went to Northeastern.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's where I'm from, is Tahlequah. I don't know if you've been down there much at all.
Okay. When I was younger, yes.
So you say younger. Are you like a couple years, or because you're not from here, right?
No. So
But-
I moved here when I was 18.
Is that what you mean by younger?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I was 19, 20, that was like, I've driven down there a couple times to like party.
The river,
Yeah.
lake.
So, well, just schools.
Oh, you went to party at NSU?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did what brought you out here? Where are you from originally?
Georgia, by way of DC.
And what brought you to Oklahoma?
Oral Roberts University. So I moved here to go to school at Oral Roberts University, which was very,
Not fun.
Not fun. Not
What?
not fun at all.
Yeah. What? Like, because you were playing football, which ORU doesn't even have football. So what?
So I was
how'd you get recruited out to ORU?
So
Or
at ORU, you'll meet groups of people, and it'll be like, okay, there are people that you know are here for, like, you're here because you want to be here at ORU.
mm-hmm.
And then there are people who's like, okay, you're here because your parents made you come out here.
Yep.
I was one of those.
Okay.
So when I moved out here, me and ORU were not like, it was not one of those things that I wanted to do.
Not clicking.
And then it wasn't clicking. But I met a lot of people that were very, I've got lifelong friends that I met at ORU. Even though me and ORU didn't work out.
I had some friends who went to ORU for a little bit. I don't know anyone who graduated from there, or maybe I do, but I know a lot of people who went, and then a lot of people had transferred out to like NSU, where I went and stuff, because ORU is pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very.
But if we're being transparent here, which I think we are, you're a pretty honest guy too. I think for the right people who go there, the mission is good and the principle, but I've also heard some pretty ridiculous things about, the guidelines there.
Oh yeah. So that was one of the things that really, I'm a rule breaker, and
oh yeah, I can see why ORU didn't work out.
ORU did not. I was not ORU material when I got there, and I did 2 semesters there. I got an opportunity, got introduced to a football team, a semi-pro team here, which is when I was presented with that opportunity, I jumped on it because academics was not working out for me. Didn't want to just be the failure in my family, so sports is where I was like, all right, let me just do this. So then after the first year, I won a championship with this team, and I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is what I'm going to even transfer it to a different school, go and play and build up my grades from there. Unfortunately for me, I got hurt in my second year, which ultimately changed my life again. And I ended up I decided to stay in Tulsa because, one, I was kind of naive to my injury. So I break my neck, and they tell me that I have a spinal cord injury, and I didn't know what that meant. So I'm thinking that I didn't want to start completely over. And so I'm thinking that, you know what, let me stay here for a little bit, and we'll see what happens after a few months. And I just didn't realize that a spinal cord injury was going to be the journey, that journey was going to be as arduous a journey as it turned out to be.
So severe.
Yeah. So like not, again, using a wheelchair, losing the use of my hands, losing independence. Like I didn't, those things weren't factored into my decision to stay in Tulsa or go. It was just like, I didn't want to change my friends. I did not at this quote unquote weak position.
And Tulsa is probably home forever, or at least for the foreseeable future?
For the foreseeable future, for sure. With this house and having a place that is like, custom for me, for the foreseeable future, for sure. And I like that Tulsa's in the middle of Oklahoma. I like that Tulsa is in the middle of the United States, because from here I can go
lots of different places around.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what Danny said. Danny O'Connor. He said that aside from all the other things that make it attractive, it's in right in the dead center. So if you like to road trip, or you can go, like flights to the East and West Coast are not as bad if you're on
Right.
one coast or the other.
Yeah, so if I lived still in Georgia, it's like trying to go out to Cali or something like that.
It's a long day.
It's a long trip. I can get on a 3-hour flight to LA. I can get on a 3.5-hour flight to Miami.
Yeah.
These are two of my these
Those
are
are your
two places
spots?
that I've been. Well, I've been to in the last 6 months. So I was in Miami in December, and then Cali recently, and it's like, oh, these trips weren't bad at all. Like, straight flight was 3.5 hours. I'm like, I love the fact that I can do that easily.
Yeah.
So,
I got a buddy who just moved to Fort Lauderdale from here. Got a job opportunity, so I've heard nothing but great things about Miami. So
I can't wait to go back.
do you like revisiting and talking about football and the injury, or do you like to try and bury that? Because I know it's the basis of what you talk about a lot. I always wanted to ask you that personally, if it's something that you kind of want to bury and move on, and you've kind of recreated yourself, or do you enjoy still talking about the foundation of it because it was a big part of your life?
I enjoy talking. I don't have a problem talking about football at all. It's interesting is that when I think about it, though, it does seem like a completely different life, and it is still one life. Because even when I was younger, so I lived in Nigeria for 2.5 years, same amount of time, or I played football for 2 years.
In Nigeria?
No, here.
Oh, okay.
So I had the one season, and then the next season was when I got hurt. So
And did you play ball in high school?
a little bit.
So how did you get picked up to play football when you weren't playing in high school?
I ran into a guy. When I say ran into a guy, I was at ORU cleaning up I used to work at the gym at ORU. So I'm mopping a floor, wasn't paying attention, and I bumped into a dude, knocked him down. Sorry, my bad, man. Picked him up, and he's like, "Dang, you're big." I'm like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "You should be playing football somewhere." I'm like, "Man, I've been trying to, but I'm at ORU. I'm here. They don't have a football team." And it just so happened that this guy's friend was about to be a coach for the Oklahoma Thunder, the football team that I ended up playing for. So he was like, "Hey, I got a friend of mine that is going to be, coaching this semi-pro team. Here, give him a call." And so
that guy probably fell into you on purpose so he could just recruit you. Like,
hey,
we need a safety.
He just ran right in there. He's like, "Oh, that dude looked like somebody." So I call him and try out, make the team, and then that literally started a new life for me because, again, at that time, I was failing classes, getting fined at ORU, messing up. Like, my life at ORU was on its way to ending.
What can you get fined for?
Earrings.
Earrings?
Yeah, at that time it was earrings. It was, dreads being too long. It was staying out, curfew.
Past curfew.
Yeah.
You have to keep your door open and stuff too, right?
No.
Like if you have a lady over or a man or whatever.
If they were to do I don't know if they opened. That's a question that I have to ask. If they've opened it up to where boys can go over to the girl side.
It's probably no.
But back then, girls couldn't come over there unless they did like a day where everyone could kind of go and visit.
A big study hall, huh?
Yeah.
So guys couldn't wear earrings?
No. So you'd get fined for it.
That's insane. That's kind of insane, right? Or really insane?
Yeah. No. But this is 2008, and so I'm racking up all of these different fines. I mean, my mailbox is just full of just stuff fines. And I'm like, that's where the joke is on y'all because
I'm not paying.
10% of zero is zero.
Did you pay him?
No, no money to pay. I was a broke student. Like, how am I supposed to pay?
So hypothetically, what's a fine for wearing earrings?
Man, I can't even remember what the actual fines were, but because I never opened them. I'm telling you, they would just put it. You'd be late for curfew. You get written up, and you knew that you're all right. I'm going to getting a letter in the mail. You would have teachers that would tell you take your earrings out multiple times. It's like, oh, I'm getting a letter in the mail. late for class or out of dress code. Up.
What's dress code?
Getting a letter in the mail. Back then, you couldn't wear like sweats or something like that to class, and
that's all everyone at NSU wore was sweats. Like if you were in jeans, everyone's like, "Oh, he went to bed early." Like,
so check this out.
That's the college kid's outfit: is sweats and a hoodie, right?
It's almost like I had this. I was rebelling against the fact that at ORU, at the time that I was there, you couldn't do a lot of certain things, but they had leeway for the athletes. So basketball team could wear whatever they want. But they didn't tell basketball team to take out their earrings and stuff. I'm at ORU, and I'm 6'4", I'm 6'5" now. At the time, I was like 6'4", and it's like I'm 240, 50 pounds. Everyone could tell that, okay, this guy's an athlete because I would work out. Like they knew that I was an athlete, but no one could really peg me for like, wait, so is he on the basketball team? Is he on the baseball team?
So you get away with a little bit more?
Like, so I told, look, man, I would see basketball players walking on the show. I'm like, all right, I'm wearing my shorts too. And I was very charismatic. And so even with the athletes, I'd hang out with them and just follow suit with some of the stuff they did. Like, so I'd go to the athletic center and I'd work out, and I'd see some of the athletes in the like recovery room getting like ice taped up for their knees and stuff like that. So I'd just go and I'd be like, hey, like there was a guy there, Smitty, that did a lot of stuff for the athletes. And I'm like, hey man, can I get some ice? And he didn't mind. He iced my knees up, give me a little TENS unit attention. And I know some of the people hated me for that because. So
you just started kind of meshing with the athletes, and you kind of became.
But some of those athletes didn't like the fact that he is like, here I am, not an ORU athlete, but kind of gaining some of these perks for being one.
Yeah, kind of milking off of it.
Yeah, I'm like, but I'm an athlete. I may not be an ORU athlete, but I'm an athlete. I was playing ball at the time. So then. Yeah, man. Like again, whatever I saw, if I saw the basketball team or baseball team doing something, like, man, I'm right along with them. So sweats.
Well, those are not really outlandish things or requests either. It'd be different if you were getting, preferential treatment, like I don't know, free gear or the meals they get, right. Or they can pass any class. You're just like, can I wear my shorts?
I was getting a bag of ice. Like a bag of ice is what I was getting. And just some of those rules are just hard to really take in. Again, like the hair thing, the earrings thing. I'm glad a lot's changed. A lot's changed for sure. But during the era that I went, me and ORU did not get along.
What was your first year there? 08, you said?
07.
07 was your...
So I moved here in 07.
You graduated high school 06?
Graduated
05?
06, yes. 06. I should have graduated 05, but ended up graduating January of 06. Did community college in Georgia, and then I transferred here in 07, and then I left ORU in 08.
So are you a Bulldog fan?
Big Bulldog fan.
Good year?
Good year. It's a great year to be a Bulldog.
I'm a Eagles fan, and we just drafted Jordan Davis.
And y'all got Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, the linebacker?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I saw that.
I just saw that last night, too.
I don't watch the draft a ton because it's so long, but I follow my phone. But whenever the draft was going on, and did you see Jordan Davis's 40?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would every time I saw a clip of that, I would send it to my friends and my wife because I'm still mind blown.
That how a man that size can run that fast.
That's terrifying.
It's extremely terrifying.
That like defies science.
Like it's extremely because I think he ran a faster 40.
I already know what you're gonna say. Yep.
He ran a faster 40.
I got the list in my head.
No, I'm talking about me personally. He ran a faster 40 at 100 pounds heavier. Then I ran a 5 flat when I was like 18.
Yeah.
I was 260 60, 65 pounds at the time.
Were you a safety?
No, I was a lineman. And then I shred down and got to like 245, and I ran a 4.5 then. That's my fastest time, was a 4.59. And
Were you D end?
And then to watch him run that size, oh my goodness, terrifying.
Yeah, he ran a faster 40 than Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, J.J. Watt, who was one of the best athletes in the league. Someone who's 330, 6'6", should not be able to move that quick.
Crazy. And now that it just hit me that you said you're an Eagles fan.
I am. Is that good?
I'm a Washington I'm a Washington Commander fan.
Say, what's the name now? It's Commanders. Are you really?
Yeah.
So do you
to DC?
Do you like? Oh yeah, true. Do you like the Wentz pickup, the trade?
I'm going to have to. That's the easiest way that I can say it.
Maybe because he might be gone in a year.
But for this year, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna love it. And so, I think that Wentz is still probably one of the best quarterbacks we will have had since RG3.
Yeah,
and Kirk Cousins-ish, and so
you guys have had a rough last decade or so.
Yeah, I mean we got a rough owner, so of course we have a rough. It's just rough, but that's the reason why I enjoy watching the draft, because I'll watch to see what's happening in the division, and so seeing that Nakobe Dean fell all the way to the Eagles, I'm just like, come on, Wash. We couldn't have picked him up in the second.
Who did you guys take?
We took in the first round. We took Jahan Dotson, which
that name sounds familiar, but I don't.
Penn State receiver.
Okay.
And then we took Fedarian Mathis from Bama in the second round, and then we took Brian Robinson, another Bama running back, in the third. Now, I feel like if we could have went Dean in the second, because we need a linebacker. We kind of fumbled the bag, because I think what we were trying to do was we had the number 11th pick, and at that time we could have drafted Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. We could have drafted Jameson Williams, the other wide receiver out of Bama.
Did you see the guy from TU get picked up?
Did see him for Dallas, right?
Yep.
So we could have made a lot of different moves. I think we tried to trade back to pick up some extra picks and then get the safety, but the safety got picked up by Baltimore right before us, and then that kind of threw off. I don't think our team had a plan for that, so we had to go with like a receiver, and I think we reached for the receiver, but we needed him, so it's going to be fine. But second, I didn't understand the second pick, because we ended up going with the D tackle, and we drafted for need, but it's like we created that need by letting go of our depth.
Yeah.
So,
but man, I always say as you know, I would say a casual fan or a fan who watches quite a bit. The draft is such a crapshoot, anyways, man.
It definitely is.
Especially when you see these guys in the 7th, 8th round that make the team and blow up, or you got like who's an example of Jamarcus Russell.
Mm-hmm. I think you're more apt. The odds of you picking a player that will contribute to your team, your odds are better in the second and third round than they are in the first round, because
the expectations are so
high. Like,
and think of the things that people were, and mind you, these guys, most of them haven't played football since they were sophomores. All the analysts and all the scouts and all that. It's never former players. It's always these old dudes who didn't even really play the sport at a high level. Like, when it came out, they were made a big point about Joe Burrow's hand size, which is important.
They made a big deal about Kenny Pickett's hand size.
Yeah, and Pickett may not pan out, but look at Burrow.
Well, look at Burrow.
And not everyone's going to be a Burrow, but they were talking about his hand size, which is so minuscule, I think.
Or even to me, when it comes to how much that people fall in love with like the 40 times
Yeah.
with speeds. It's like that. We're never going to see football speed and 40 speed are very different speeds.
Yeah. There's no
Because-
pads. There's no helmet.
Yeah. Like,
You're in a straight line.
the only person that I can tell you from a football perspective who speed has just been speed is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Like speed, his speed, straight line, lateral, diagonal. His speed is just raw speed. But then there are people that play faster than their 40s, like for example, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was a whiz because he's like a crazy route runner.
Yeah.
He don't have to have breakaway speed to create space between him and his
Yeah,
defender.
he's just shifty and, and
Like,
good all around.
Got good feet. So it's like, and he creates like 3 yards of distance. So he's always open.
Look
you
at
know?
Hunter Renfrow for the Raiders.
Hunter Renfrow
from
yeah.
Clemson.
Yeah.
Little white dude. He is
Him.
crazy.
Like the best route runners that I've seen, like him, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp. So that's what makes Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp because he is great. He's a great route runner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so then those on the opposite scale, you know, players like Dez Bryant, like were monsters because they could just run straight and jump and just
And it's so
beat you to the
huge,
ball.
yeah.
But Dez wasn't like a great route runner.
Yeah.
Like
Just
so
a
now
phenomenal athlete.
You take Dez and someone that can run routes and put them together, you get a Julio Jones. Like monster speed athlete, can break away. Like that. Now you're just talking about freaks, you know?
Yeah. You talked about the LeBron, Kobe, MJ argument earlier. Different question. Do you think LeBron could have played in the NFL? Because
Easy.
you do?
Yeah.
You don't think he's too soft?
I think that he was going to be gifted, and
Whatever he
basically
did.
however you nurtured that gift, it was going to flourish. I mean, you look at Megatron. Like again, LeBron has that kind of build where if you made him lift more weights, he'd have been a freak of nature.
Yeah, mind you, he's an insane worker,
Right.
Dedicated. What
And speed, hands. Yeah, he'd have been a freak.
I really wish, because they did the whole deal where the Cowboys offered him a deal during the NBA lockout, which was short, but I was really, and he's done some crazy things like left Cleveland, came back to Cleveland, then left again. I was hoping he would pull an MJ one year and be like, I'm gonna go try the NFL. I really hoped he would have done it.
Yeah, definitely don't think he would have got through that because to leave basketball and start getting tagged and hit. Whew.
I know. I wish he would have done it, but I think the window's closing now. So just curious, who'd you pick out of those three? Was it MJ, Kobe, or LeBron?
As the greatest, it's such a hard discussion because to me,
people are fascinated about making it one person too.
Yeah, and it's
they're all
to
great.
me through different lenses. They all shine differently. Like if I said, it's almost the same argument as like the greatest quarterback of all time. Like I would give people greatest something for different reasons. So like and I'm gonna go back to answer that question. But for example, people, the GOAT, everyone knows the GOAT to be Tom Brady because of championships and things like that. But everyone also knows that if you put Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers basically in a skills competition, that most people would be recognized that like Aaron Rodgers has like a better like arm, eye for how he fits the ball in, for how he moves. But Tom Brady is the GOAT.
Just a winner.
He's a winner. He's a winner. That you can't beat that. Michael Jordan is a winner along with an insane skill set. LeBron James is a winner, skill set, athlete, and because of just sheer nature of him being able to have the career, the longevity of career that he's had, he ultimately will end up as the greatest of all time because of longevity. And I don't think that should take away from anything. I hate when people are like, well, he's going to have the records because of how long he played. Yeah, and that's something.
That's hard to do.
That's hard to do.
You have to take care of your
Brett
body.
Favre for having the Iron Man records. That's hard to do. Like, if it were easy, more people would do it, but it's not. So
yeah, I think people forget, and mind you, I know nothing about basketball. So, but outside of basketball, you have to think LeBron was obviously good at shooting a basketball, and he had an amazing frame, and he grew up working towards that. But people don't see the, he can't just go out and shoot threes and free throws. He has to eat well. He has to train his body well. He sleeps well. He doesn't. He's not out in Hollywood, blowing his money or doing drugs. I mean, he's spent 20 years just as a pro, going to bed on time, dedicating.
Tom Brady's the exact same way.
Yeah.
He has this whole process. Like, he is and to me, Kobe is the exact same way.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I start to look at. This, to me, is what makes people great, because it's not just what they do when the lights are on, it's what they do when the lights are off. Like, they are insane work ethic people. They are insane about their habits. They don't compromise. And I'm not that great, because I compromise every single day. I'm gonna be the one that eats the extra piece of candy.
Biscuits and gravy from Merritt's.
Biscuits and gravy from Merritt's. I'm not Mamba mentality. Like, it is what it is. I've accepted who I am as a person.
Yeah, it's insane that people they don't think about that stuff. You can tell the people get some places have a natural ability, and they might stick around 3 or 4 years and they fizzle out, or they're on the bench and they made a little money and they're still. But to get to like that, you have to respect that tenacity and the pressure, like you mentioned earlier. I think I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at age 16, 17.
Yeah, early.
He could have crumbled so many times.
He's carried the weight of the greatness. He's carried the weight of being compared to Jordan. He's carried the weight of being young.
Yeah, he's been called the next Jordan since he was in high school.
And he's done it flawlessly.
Yeah.
LeBron has never been in any trouble. And what has LeBron done off the field, off the court? Everything. He's given back.
The academy in Ohio.
Yeah, he's given back to the community. He's been on the face. He's been the face of different social justice movements. Like, he's done way more with his career off the court than Michael Jordan ever has done, ever will do. Like, Jordan has Jordan brand. He's got the shoes that are going to live forever. It's going to continue to make him money forever. But from a social impact, LeBron James is the greatest of all. Like, he's gonna be the GOAT when it comes to, like, when you factor in every attribute.
He's probably going to beat all the records.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the rings, because he's kind of running out of time, but he's close.
And we're just now in the space where we're getting, like, okay, LeBron isn't in the playoffs or in the finals, but for the last decade, it's LeBron. To get a championship, you got to go through LeBron.
Yeah.
Like,
he was going to win it or lose in the finals.
He's going to be that man going to be there. And it's just now recently that, and then, I mean, the recency bias because he was just there 2 years ago, but yeah, I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with.
Hey, before we bounce, I totally forgot about it, but the podcast Black Sheep, is that right? It was called?
Yes, the Black Sheep Pod.
I didn't know that was you were doing that until probably late last week when I was on your page.
So the Black Sheep Pod is a podcast hosted by me and my friend Mike Creef. It is presented by the Black Wall Street Times. It is a media outlet that based out of Tulsa, tackles different issues going on in the community. And
is it down at the museum? Is it a museum?
No, it is. So that's Greenwood Rising, but it is on Archer. It's down the street from there. It is right beside Magic City Books.
Okay.
And so it's an online media outlet, and our podcast is presented by them. And so we for me and Mike, we grew up as quote unquote black sheeps in our respective households and our respective situations that we found ourselves in. And so we'd like to talk about, current events, what's going on from our perspective, so, podcasts are out and people just talk, and we figured to, get an outlet where we could talk about stuff that we want to talk about. So.
And does Mike work for the Black Wall Street?
Yes,
okay.
He's a writer for the Black Wall Street Times. Him, my friend Dion is the managing editor. Nehemiah Frank is the CEO who started it. It started as like an online blog, and then they have grown it into one of the premier outlets for African Americans and people of color to get news. So it's awesome.
That's a thing that people discuss here, that especially as that area and those museums and this publication have been blowing up, talking about the race riots of the 20s here. Mm-hmm. People, mainly Oklahoma, because it happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they talked about a lot about, we didn't really learn that in school a lot. And I wouldn't imagine you would have been in Georgia because it was a Tulsa thing.
I learned about it when I moved here.
See, I don't recall hearing about it in school in history. And a lot of people said that as well. And now people are getting educated on that and really even still learning about what it was and is. And it
was a cover up. I mean, it was a cover up for the longest time, and so it was strategic as to why we didn't hear about it. I never forget, I've always heard whispers, and I never forget being out at like Mayfest or Hop Jam or something like that, and doing an interview where people were being asked, what you think about this podcast, yada yada yada.
Black sheep.
And no, black. Excuse me. What did you think about the race massacre? And me talking about it, and then hearing other people that were from Tulsa not know what anyone was talking about. It's like, oh wow, like that's when it kind of really became like, oh, this was purposeful. Like, you purposely didn't talk about this, because there's no way something that significant happens right down the street of the ground that we're all sitting on, and no one here really knows about it. Like, I'd heard
it, but it was, like you said, in passing, and I was older, and then it was more of, okay, I've heard about notice, but it was just like a cliff note per se, not really much of held any weight, because it was in passing, and it was all on my own, not in school or not through a book or anything.
And I'm just glad that more and more people are hearing about it now. I'm glad that we have a museum that's up called Greenwood Rising right there on Greenwood, in which it chronicles what happened, where people were during, and then what happened in the aftermath. It is a great place for anyone to go and visit and learn a little bit more about the history of Tulsa.
And the Wall Street and the Greenwood Rising, are they correlated at all or not really?
Black Wall Street Times the correlation between Black Wall Street Times and where everything happens, that Nehemiah Frank, the CEO, is a descendant of a survivor of the massacre.
Oh wow!
And so,
so he does work with the museum, and
so he's not correlated with the museum, but his whole, in starting this, his mission was to make sure that he honored the descendants by not allowing voices to be unheard,
like bringing light to it,
mm-hmm.
and so forth.
And so, we are 101 years removed from the massacre, but it doesn't mean that we're removed from the issues that are still in the community, or the issues that are still plaguing like people of color when it comes to whether or not their voices are being heard in particular settings, or
still feeling the effects of those.
Yeah, or whether or not news reflects the actual experience that people have. And so it's all about, getting voice to people and making sure that people's stories and different news is not pushed aside or buried because of our natural tendency to look at, different stuff that gets put out. So,
well, this podcast is not as consistent as I would like it to be, but Black Sheep, are you guys doing it weekly, monthly, or is it on the fly like mine?
It is on the fly like yours, man. So
it's hard to get times down. Like for you, we've been talking for 30, 40 days, and you like to travel. I like to travel.
And so I was in LA at one point whenever I was messaging you. Yeah. I was like, dang, I'm out of town. I can't. Yeah. And it the spur of the moment.
I tell Lindsay all the time too. I was like, man, I don't know if he really wants to, or if he's ghosted me, or if he's busy. And that's when so finally I called you, and you're like, man, I'm just on the go. And I try to be the same way too. I like to be out and about and do things with my time. So, but I'm glad we did finally get up.
I'm thrilled that we got this together, because we'll revisit again. So this is our podcast. We want to be more regular, where we did like twice, bi-weekly or whatnot. And our last one we shot was in March, and so we're due for sure. We want to get one out this next week. We were supposed to record yesterday actually, but things happen.
Yeah.
So
well, why don't you tell us where we can find it, a little bit about where to listen and what to do, and then maybe close us out if you got any final words. I know you got a busy day, and we've been here about 2 hours, and it's been a great time. So,
so you can find us on on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, iTunes. We are the Black Sheep Pod. Again, that is presented by Black Wall Street Times. Your hosts are Emeka Nnaka and Mike Creef. We're available on all platforms. So please give us a like, a share, a listen. I'm pretty sure I said that backwards. Give us a listen, a like, and a share. And I'm Emeka Nnaka. I can be found at EmekaNnaka.com, Live Beyond Labels. Let me say it again, at EmekaNnaka.com. Excuse me, at EmekaNnaka.com, and also LiveBeyondLabels.com.
And in person. Our bar on Sundays, right?
Some Sundays on our bar, Sunday Fun Day. And just, I'm out here in these streets. And when I meet people in Tulsa, I like to tell people that, I'll see you later, because I don't meet people just once. If you meet me once, it's guaranteed you're going to see me again somewhere. So Justin, I do appreciate the time that you've allowed me to come in here and the time that you spent coming here to hang out with me.
Pull up in your studio.
And so I think if I were going to leave the people with something, I'd be remiss if I didn't just, everything for me, life's about perspective. If there's one thing that you take away from hearing me talk, I hope that is that our lives move on a pendulum from good to bad. And so if you hold on long enough, sometimes what's bad can swing back to good. And if you live long enough, when things are going good, sometimes that pendulum will swing to bad. But that's just all a part of the life that we live. And so if you're in a dark place right now, just hold on. Light is on its way.
That's good stuff, man. Yeah, the best people always say success and progress is not linear. It goes up and down and
all around.
Well, seriously, thank you for your time, man. I'm glad to meet you and hopefully call you a friend and see you more than once, as you say. It took a little bit of time for us to get connected, but that's just the beast of it. So.
Timing's perfect.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man, and I can't wait to put this out May 13th, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Was it after the 11th?
Yes, after the 10th. We're good.
Okay, I think we'll do 13th because that's when I'll be back from out of town.
Perfect.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Man.